and welcome to Escape in the Motorhome. So the whole place is closed.
Well, I'm just calming down.
Oh, look at that.
I started to hear like a little scratching sound. Alarm bells went off.
It was quite a moving display. There were people blocking the zebra crossing. Well, that was a pretty bad night's sleep. It's a beautiful location, but my goodness me, it was blowing a hoolie last night. It just felt like the motorhome was rocking in the wind. And then this morning there was a running group, and I don't know what time they were running, but it must have been something like 5:30. Hats off to them. But after a really dodgy night's sleep in the wind, it would have been nice just to have a quiet start to the day. However, let's go and see what the weather's like. Oh, look at that. Oh, that is just stunning. Beautiful. I'm taking Sammy for a walk. I think after that, because I don't trust myself with my phone and a greyhound, I will take my phone for a walk, because this is just delightful. There's something magical. I think I've said this before. Sorry. There's something magical about a rugged cliff-top seaside location. We live by the sea. We're about a 15-minute drive from Portsmouth and Southsea. And Southsea is a beautiful seaside town, and it's great for cyclists because it's very, very flat. But here it feels very undulating and magical. There are nooks and crannies and coves and ruins, and it's a sleepy, mysterious seaside town with lots of smuggling links. I love it.
While B was out getting buffeted around by the wind, I made her a well-earned cup of tea and got the kids ready before going out and doing the best thing you can do on a windy day. Stop running! Oh! After our kite flying session, we headed down into the old town in search of supplies. On the way, we passed some lovely gardens where these residents obviously love their space and love sharing it with the people who pass by.
To help the disadvantaged children of the fisherman's family. Ready? Yeah.
Push it with your finger. Yay!
So last night my children looked up Winkle Island, and we were wondering where Winkle Island was because Etty said it was in Hastings. Apparently that's Winkle Island, and it was brought about in 1900, and it was part of the Winkle Club, and they were raising money for the disadvantaged children of the fishermen families around here. So we've just put some money in the little monument there. I think it's really nice.
And also, as the boys just pointed out, up on the hill, up there is Stampy.
Oh yeah!
With Indy in the middle of his lesson.
Poor Indy, stuck in French. These are built in the Victorian times. They're called net shops. I think they're lovely. Hastings Corporation has hired out this space for the fishermen. This is where they stored their gear. We were saying they look very Dickensian. When you look at them on the side, they're all quite ramshackle, with different doors and floors. You can only imagine what used to happen in Victorian times. They're still using them for fish today. And all these seagulls are hovering around to see if they can get something to eat.
That's why they're there, yeah.
Boys, can you spot a cuttlefish? Are you seeing cuttlefish bones? Where's the cuttlefish? There it is. And can you spot a skate?
Now you might better hear me over the wind, but I was just thinking, down where I live, Hailing Island, and along the south coast you get a lot of beach huts. And beach huts can exchange hands for £10,000, £20,000. And I was just thinking, I've never seen a multi-storey beach hut. That might be a new way of, or double, we'll just stack them up like that, so then maybe more people can enjoy the sea. But I don't know how you get out of the top level. I know, well look, we could use this pulley system. We're camped out on the West Hill. This is the East Hill, surrounding Hastings Old Town. And this is the funicular railway up to the East Hill. It's the steepest railway, I think, in the UK, and opened in August 1902, so that makes it 120 years old. Sadly, this one and the other railway at the other end are both under maintenance. If it was open, I think tickets range from about £2.60 and upwards to go up to the top of that again. So another time.
Looks really cool, doesn't it, boys?
Yeah.
Really cool.
Check out this anchor.
Oh wow, look, this anchor was believed lost during the time the English was British at war in 1812 and was recovered from the seabed in 1981. Look at all the oysters on there, boys. Go and have a look at all the oysters. So just over there is the Fisherman's Museum, which is free to enter, and you can also take dogs in there, which I thought was quite nice. And this is the Shipwreck Museum. We're just going to go and see if it costs any money to go in.
Well, all the signs were literally there that everything was open. However, when we walked round to the door, we found it was only open on certain days. But glad to see that dogs are welcome here too. We were just saying, what a lovely place to live up there, underneath the railway and opposite the sea. So much going on here, unbelievable. Bee's just talking the kids through the historic map.
Pevensey Bay, that's where William the Conqueror landed with all of his men. And then we were just saying, we travelled up here through to battle, the site of the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Soon that'll be 1,000 years ago.
Well, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and we're on George Street in Hastings. It seems that some of the shops open a little bit later around here, as most of the shops are shut at the moment. The West Cliff is home to St Clement's Caves. First written about in the late 18th century, they became a tourist attraction in the late 19th century, with royal guests amongst the visitors. During the Second World War, 200 to 400 people were sheltering here, which later grew to 900 as the war drew on. Since 1989, it's been home to Smuggler's Adventure, which tells the story of smugglers on the south coast of England 200 years ago.
Yes, here we go. Sniff, sniff. Does it all smell good? Oh, I know, I love the sound of Christmas pudding.
Chocolate fudge.
What? So it's 10 o'clock in the morning and we're buying fudge. So we've got 3 choices for vegan fudge today in Rolly's Fudge Pantry. There is chocolate orange fudge, maple and cashew, and salted maple and pecan. So what are we having, Dad? You said salted always sounds good.
Salted's always good. It's going to peak some Let's go for this one.
Yeah?
Unfortunately, posh fudge doesn't come cheap. We took our 2 bags worth £10 and headed off from Hastings to Battle. The day was still young and the trip short, but when we got there, just before our last turning, we were faced with the most unusual scene. As we came to a stop at the crossing just a few metres ahead, we realised the time. We switched off our engine, told the kids to be quiet and observed the 2-minute silence in the van. There was something overwhelmingly dramatic about the scene and the people stood in the streets stopping the cars from moving, but obviously we weren't going to film it. Cannon fire and the last post signalled the end of the 2-minute silence, so we turned Stampy around and headed to the car park.
Well, we've just had the 11 o'clock Armistice Day 2-minute silence, and it was quite a moving display. There were people blocking the zebra crossing so that everything literally stood still. It was very respectful. But now we have to drive to get to the car park. So we just had to make our way through. So here we are at the English Heritage Battle Abbey car park. And it looks like we can fit in. Thank goodness, because somebody commented on our Instagram post the other day that we would struggle. So let's hope we are okay.
And then they do it and then they run away and they just go.
Well, if you just joined us, this is Phoenix explaining how the gunpowder works with the cannons going off. We just heard some ground shaking cannon fire, didn't we, for the Armistice Day commemorations. Goodness me, I saw everybody in the street jump with shock at the second one, and poor old Sammy, I think, did a few trumps. So we're just going to take him for a little stroll around the car park. But us three, we're going off to Battle Abbey whilst Daddy and Sammy stay behind to do work. Right, let's go. Signs for Pevensey, signs for Rye on the 1066 walk, and here we are heading to our learning experience today, learning all about the Battle of Hastings, William the Conqueror, the Norman invasion, and how William of Normandy chose to commemorate the event by building the abbey, which now no longer stands, thanks to Henry VIII. And there's a plaque now at the point where Harold was killed. So the whole place is closed except for school groups, which is amazing. So it's just us and one other school group in the whole place. I think we're really lucky, aren't we? Yeah. See that ruin? That is the abbey. And why do you think it's in ruins? Yes, he abolished the Catholic Church and set up his own Church of England, so he dissolved all the monasteries. Said he didn't want them there anymore, and that he was the head of the church, in his opinion, so that he could go ahead and divorce his first wife. So that's why it's in ruins. We're just reading about the Domesday Book and that it was the oldest survey in England. I suppose it's a little bit like the census, but William the Conqueror obviously wanted to know what he owned across the country.
That was pretty good. That's definitely not a period.
This is easy. Look, I can.
So would you have preferred to be on the English side on foot, or would you prefer to be on the French side where you're mostly on horseback? Oh look, here we go. So this is an archer's bow and arrows. So can you imagine that going into poor old Harold's head? Not quite enough protection for my liking, but I'm sure it suited those on the battlefield. I like the shape of the Norman shields. Nice and long, aren't they? Why do you think the Norman shields are more effective than the English shields?
Because they're long and it covers their whole body.
Yeah, it does seem to cover your entire flank, doesn't it?
Well, I'm just calming down. We're at the Abbey, at Battle Abbey. Bea and the boys have gone inside for their tour around the Abbey. I'm in the van doing my work, and Sammy's with me. And I thought he was sitting nice and calmly, and I started to hear like a little scratching sound. Alarm bells went off, and I come over, and I'll show you what this little guy's been doing. In just those few seconds, he's managed to, let me get a focus on there. He's managed to bite into the the wood under the seat. Now, I don't know what a sorry dog looks like, but I think, having been told off a little bit for biting into Daddy's van, he looks a little bit sorry for himself. So I'm covering it with this blanket in the hope that he'll ignore that. Normally, he's so good, he'll just lie there and won't do anything. So I don't know if it's anxiety perhaps, you know, leading him to choose stuff, but anyway, fingers crossed, that's the last bit of damage he does to this van. Hey Sammy.
Watched a really good video all about the day of the Battle of Hastings, and we're about to walk and look at the battlefield. Unfortunately, the battlefield itself is closed due to muddy conditions today, but we can see a big overview of the field. If you're looking right, that is the battlefield. This is where the line of English defence would have been. Well, considering that they'd walked all the way from Yorkshire and just had a battle themselves, that must have been exhausting. Apparently in the 18th century, these buildings were used to hide contraband in from the smugglers. Just reading about the idea of false retreats from Normans, apparently they did it more than once and they're quite famous for doing that in battle. Can't believe us English fell for it every time. Oh, they're going, let's go and chase them. Oh no, they're going to kill us. And then again, oh, they're retreating, let's go and chase them. Oh no, they're turning around, they're going to get us. Whoops. A few years later, William decided to build this chapel to commemorate those that were killed during the battle, and also to commemorate Harold by putting the high altar at the point where he was killed.
He was stabbed in the eye and cut.
What, right here?
Yeah.
The traditional site of the high altar of Battle Abbey, founded to commemorate the victory of Duke William on the 11th of October 1066. The high altar was placed to mark the spot where King Harold died. Can you see where all of the outline of the Battle Abbey originally was? And this seems to be the last remaining part of Battle Abbey, this crypt area. And of course, after the dissolution of the monasteries and the churches because of King Henry VIII, this all would have been knocked down. So this is the dairy and the ice house. Why do you think they kept the ice house under the ground?
It was cold.
Mind your head, so you can go down there, but not today. So here we are at the garderobe, otherwise known as the latrine, otherwise known as the toilet. Actually, considering some medieval toilets, it's quite private. I mean, it's lacking a door, but obviously there wouldn't be a piece of glass there, Phoenix, because you'd make a terrible mess. You would run the risk of falling down, you're absolutely right. But there you go, all the way down there. Nice. Plenty of space. Very heavy, Indy. I tell you what, it preserves the nose, doesn't it? If you've got it on straight. Preserves Etienne's nose and mouth.
Well, that was the end of our time in battle and the end of our trip, as it happens. There was just time to nip back to Stampy for some soup.
Get munching, Etty.
Before heading back to Hampshire via the M25 in time for swimming and drama club. If you've enjoyed our video, let us know with a thumbs up, and until our next escape, thanks for watching.